Let's take a look at the history of the USAF Thunderbirds and what aircraft could have been the next Thunderbird. The team known as the Thunderbirds are the Air Demonstration Squadron of the United States Air Force, tasked with performing air shows all over the country and the world to help recruit new members into the USAF. Today, the Thunderbirds are assigned to the 57th Wing and call Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada their home. Additionally, since the Thunderbirds are a named squadron, they do not carry a numerical designation and were founded in 1953, some 68 years ago. Interestingly, the Thunderbirds can trace their origins all the way back to the 30th Aero Squadron, which was formed at Kelly Field in Texas on June of 1917. Today, we will take a look at the various aircraft the Thunderbirds have flown over the years, along with a what-if scenario I think you'll enjoy. Alright, let's take a look at the Thunderbirds' first aircraft, the F-84 Thunderjet. In May of 1953, the Thunderbirds were activated as the 3600th Air Demonstration Team at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. The first teams flew the straight-winged F-84 Thunderjet, featuring the now iconic red, white, and blue livery, and performed at some 26 air shows by August of that year. Since the F-84 was a single-seat fighter, a two-seat T-38 Shooting Star was also used as the narrator and VIP/press ride aircraft. Part of the F-84's routine featured a maneuver called the Cuban 8. By the spring of 1955, the team had transitioned to the swept-wing F-84F Thunderstreak aircraft and were also assigned their first support aircraft, a C-119 flying boxcar. The next aircraft to be used by the Thunderbirds was the F-100 Super Sabre, which the team began flying in 1956. The switch to the F-100 coincided with the team's move to Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Interestingly, the team's move to Nellis was due to the fact that it was easier to maintain the F-100s at Nellis instead of at Luke Air Force Base. The move to the F-100 also gave the team a supersonic jet, and as a result, the airshow routine was shifted away from maneuvers like the Cuban 8 and instead emphasized low and loud flyovers. As a sign of the times, sonic booms were permitted at airshows if the event organizers allowed for it, which undoubtedly thrilled audiences and likely shattered a few windows. Eventually, the FAA banned supersonic flight at airshows inside the US. Dual solo aircraft were introduced in 1962, and the Thunderbirds performed in Europe for the first time in 1963. In 1964, the Thunderbirds switched to the F-105 Thunderchief, but had to quickly switch back to the F-100s after 6 airshows due to a catastrophic failure of the No. 2 aircraft at Hamilton Air Force Base in May. Tragically, Captain Gene Delvin perished in the accident. In 1967, the Thunderbirds surpassed performances at 1,000 airshows and would continue to operate the F-100 through 1968. In 1969, the Thunderbirds again switched jets, this time to the front-line F-4E Phantom, easily the biggest and loudest of all the Thunderbirds. At the time, the Phantom was the premier fighter for the Air Force, Navy, and Marines, and as a result was also used by the Navy's Blue Angels. This would be the only time that both the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels used the same aircraft, a testament to the Phantom's versatility and power. If you've ever heard an F-4 fly, you'll understand. The Phantoms were used by the Thunderbirds up until 1973, when the OPEC oil crisis erupted, causing an unprecedented surge in oil prices. As a result, the massive F-4 needed a smaller and more economical replacement. In 1974, the T-38 Talon was selected. Aside from being a small and nimble aircraft, fuel consumption was a major factor. In fact, 5 T-38s used the same amount of fuel as one F-4 Phantom. The switch to T-38s once again updated the Thunderbirds' airshow routine, bringing more focus to maneuverability and tight turns. The Talon would fly for the Thunderbirds until 1982, when tragically a 4-plane formation crashed during pre-season training while practicing the iconic Diamond Loop. This crash was due to the lead aircraft experiencing a mechanical problem during the loop, and since the wing and slot pilots were visually cueing off the lead, this caused all 4 aircraft to impact the ground at high speed. All 4 pilots perished. The loss of the 4 Thunderbird pilots caused a 6-month suspension of activities. In 1983, the Thunderbirds would be reinstituted with a new aircraft, the F-16A Fighting Falcon, also known as the Viper. The Thunderbird F-16s have been dazzling crowds for 38 years and have been part of some important milestones, including In 1986, a flyover for the rededication of the Statue of Liberty. In 1990, the Thunderbirds flew their 3,000th air show. In 1991, the team performed overseas in Switzerland, Poland, and Hungary. In 1992, the Thunderbird F-16As were upgraded to the F-16C version, which they still fly today, along with the two-seat F-16D. In 1996, the Thunderbirds went overseas again, this time to Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovenia. Also in 1996, the Thunderbirds participated in the opening ceremonies for the Atlanta Olympics. In 2005, the Thunderbirds selected Major Nicole Malachowski, making her the team's first female Thunderbird pilot. In 2007, the Thunderbirds' second female pilot was chosen, Captain Samantha Weeks. In 2008, the Thunderbirds joined the Canadian Snowbirds, UK's Red Arrows, and the Navy's Blue Angels in a ceremonial flight over Quebec City as part of the city's 400th anniversary celebration. In 2009, during their Far East tour, the Thunderbirds performed in Australia, Malaysia, Guam, Thailand, South Korea, and Japan. The F-16 has left and continues to leave an amazing legacy for the Thunderbirds. If you haven't seen them live and have the chance to do so, I highly encourage it. Now, before we get to what could have been, let's take a quick look at the Air Force team that predated the Thunderbirds, the Acrojets. This is the Air Force's Fighter Weapons School Acrojets demonstration team, which featured the F-80C Shooting Star and were assigned to the 1st Fighter Group. Formed in 1948, the Acrojets were the Air Force's first demonstration team after World War II and the first demo team to fly jets. Alright, now I'll ask you to join me on a quick what-if thought experiment. Imagine if the Air Force had been able to acquire the 700 plus F-22 Raptors initially requested. Now imagine if the Thunderbirds had chosen to switch from the venerable and nimble F-16 to the Raptor. After seeing and photographing the Raptor demo team and the Thunderbirds at this year's Wings Over Houston Air Show, that's exactly what I began to think. I'd like to present to you the F-22 Raptor Thunderbird demo team. Here are the F-22 Thunderbirds. Switching to F-22s would have likely resulted in the addition of some new maneuvers as part of the Thunderbirds airshow routine, especially given the F-22's thrust vectoring. We can only imagine what these new additions would be. Perhaps some kind of formation cobra maneuver, pedal turns, power loops, loaded rolls, or tail slides. The livery I chose to go with is a combination of previous Thunderbird schemes, especially in the tail. The tail fins are actually a combination of today's F-16 Thunderbirds, which make use of a star field, and the T-38's large numbers which were displayed on the tail. The T-38s were the first Thunderbird team I saw as a young boy in the early 80s, so this is kind of a throwback. Imagine the sound of 6 F-22s performing as the Thunderbirds. There is no other aircraft like the F-22 Raptor, and seeing them in the Thunderbird colors would certainly be a sight. What do you think? Which Thunderbird jet is your favorite? Would you have liked to have seen F-22 Thunderbirds? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my patrons who directly support this channel. If you'd like to become a patron and receive recognition, I'll leave a link in the description below. Thanks for watching. You can call me Tog, and see you next time. Tog Dog.